All right, so recently I had the opportunity to work on developing this app called Self-List. This is an application based on personal listing. People can come in and add personal listing, sort of like a Craigslist kind of situation. And the specialty of this is this application is based on WordPress. Even though I'm using 80% JavaScript and 20% WordPress functions and PHP, this is still a WordPress-based application. And at the bottom here, I am programmatically showing the template names so that wherever we go in this app, you get to see the corresponding templates name showing up here. And this part is just a small banner ad. This will keep changing. Other than that, this has only 2 entry points. One is list. If I click here, it will go straight to login, and the other one will take us to a search engine. Now, before I elaborate on this, let me give you a quick preview of my development environment. If we go here, I'm using VS Code, and this is the WordPress backend code. Under WP content, theme folder, this is the theme, Self-List EXBB10. This is the one I have all the code in. And as you can see, it's a sample, one of the sample JavaScript code right here. You can see here that I'm using ES6 class system, constructor. I'm using the extends keyword to implement inheritance and super, and using the famous this keyword inside the constructor, and using ES6 arrow functions inside the class, and eventually exporting it all. And all of them are centrally connected to this one main script where I am pulling them in using the import keyword. All the modules are pulled in, and inside this constructor, I am instantiating every single one of them with a new keyword. This is pretty much the 80% of this application is going to look like. And at the bottom here, I'm using the gulp.js automation to compile my Sass for styling and my ES6 JavaScript. And on this screen here, I am connecting to my GitHub. This, and let's go back here. Just to start this automation, I'm using gulp watch command, and this is all configured here under the gulp.js file. And as you can see, it's all here. I'm going to go in much more detail in the later videos about all these details, but right now it's just a quick peek at the backend development environment. And before I get started with the application walkthrough, I just need to show you this. Even though this is a Mac box and it says macOS Mojave, but then this is actually a VM or virtual machine under VMware Workstation. I have multiple of them. This is a macOS Big Sur, and the beauty of using this VM is that I can set up my work areas and pause it, so that any time I want to go back in, unpause it and get into it and get to work. And whenever I want, I just pause this one and go back to this one and turn this one on. And at the same time, you can see this is a Windows environment, Windows 10. I'm using this as a host system. I don't do any serious coding on Windows. I do have a backup development environment set up for failovers and testing and such. But other than that, most of the important work or development work happens right here. And with this setup, I get to enjoy the best of both worlds, Windows and Mac, right? So now let's go back. Okay, here, we start with, let's say, T. All right, so it's going to go ahead and bring, all the categories, subcategories, and the number of lists they hold, right? And we have here is up to 4 layers of categories. One is the main category, we're calling it grande, and then there's the immediate child of the grande is the primo. As you can see, there's a multiple of them, and under that primo, there's the secondary ones we're calling secundo, and that's children are called tarzo, the 4th category, right? So, and also just to make this this search also, as you can see, I can put a tut here and they keep reduced, and if I target tuts, all I have to do hit S and it will isolate down to a single entry. And to make this search faster, I'm using a caching mechanism by using a web worker. Inside a web worker, I'm using a fetch catch method, and this fetch catch method is actually connecting to this custom REST API endpoint. As you can see here, WP JSON selflist/bay1/cat info. This is something I had to custom build, depending on all the category structures. As you can see here, it has the primo, it has the secundo, and tarzo, and then this is the main category. Just like that, all the categories and subcategories that are created, including the number of posts they hold, all this information is right here in a custom REST API endpoint. From here, I am using this web worker. As soon as the home page is loaded, it goes in and gets that info from the REST API and comes here and puts it under IndexedDB. See the key value store, and if I go to key value store, this is where all the results, you can see they're cached, and whatever search is happening are using this cache mechanism. So next, let's go move forward to the next step. For example, if I click here, now we're going to go, as you can see, the category.php, which is the category archive, fully customized. And in here, on the right side sidebar, what I'm doing here is that under tutoring, being the grande or the primary category, it has a bunch of subcategories like a primo, secundo, tarzo. So as soon as we go to tutoring, I'm actually collecting whatever this may be there, a synopsis of and a quick link of those category structure. I'm showing you that under this subcategory, 2 listing available. Under English, this is another primo. Under 4, it has 4, and math has 5, and also subsequently all the other subcategories, right? So for example, if we follow biology, and it has English, like biology, English, and math. So we see English here, English again, and we see math here and biology. So let's follow biology. So this time I'm clicking on a primo category. So now all you're going to see a list of secundos and tarzos under this primary category. So here, from here, you can quickly jump into wherever you want to go. So let's follow college. Let's find, okay, let's click on college here. And we find Atlanta to be the last one. And we can click here or click here to go to the Atlanta one and pinpoint the last listing under that category structure. And it actually telling you there's no more categories available. And from here, we click on this to end up all the way at the beginning so that we can start searching again. And this time, let's do tutoring again. just wanted to show you a few other features here. For example, there are a invite mechanism. As you can see, this is disabled right now, but as soon as I click here, it gets enabled, and as you can see, it's collecting a background email information. So the email that resided here. So if the user chooses to invite few people, so what he can do, he can just start clicking this and collecting the email addresses, right? So far we collected 3, we can do 4, and then if we hit invite, we get to a nice little form where all he has to do, fill up the personal information and type up whatever message he wants to send or invitation to, and hit invite, and the email will go to all these users. Okay, and there's another feature which is a flagging feature. For example, if the user decides to, like, if there's something that they don't agree with, or let's say something it has a bad word or something not appropriate for children or whatever, so they can just hit this and fill out this form and flag that, and that will go and register in the WordPress backend. I'm using a separate custom post type for this called flagging, and then later on the administrator can go in the back and find that specific flagged post and make their decision on what to do or how to handle it. I also have another thing here, which is the share button. If somebody wants to share it, it actually goes to the single list, and that's where I'm using a sharing plugin so that this can be shared on all these platforms. And last but not least, let's go back and show you one more feature I have here is, let's go to app dev. And in here, you can see that we have the owner of this list, the user name is listed here, right? And if this is clicked, we end up at the author archive, and that gives us all the listings written by or created by this author. All right. So one little thing I forgot to show you, which is, let's say this is also a text content search. So in case you need to pinpoint something, and boom, see, you actually narrow it down to one single list. And also there is a filter here based on location and market, but we don't have enough good examples here. So let's go find a better one, which is tutoring. So when we come here, you can see there's some from Georgia, Lawrenceville, and Dallas, Texas, etc., etc. So in here, when we drop down, a number of states appear. Now, these states will only appear if they have an active listing, at least one active listing under them. And for example, if I choose Georgia, and here the list of all the cities will come that has been created under this, because state names, since we know 50 states, so they're static, so we provide that, but we leave the city names open for users to create. So whenever you create a list, you get to choose or create a city. We'll get to that shortly, but this is how we're gonna we filter here. For example, if I click on Alpharetta, and all the listings that belong in Alpharetta shows up, and then we look for Atlanta, nothing there. Cobb, nothing there, but we go to Lawrenceville and we find some more, right? And this is completely happening, like this is an Ajax generated page, And these listings are done a little bit differently than the other, completely JavaScript generated. The other ones had some PHP involved. Now, that being said, let's look at the other ones. For example, the blog. It's a regular looking blog here with the index page and single pages. But interesting thing about this is that this blog is actually created with a custom post type. Because I'm using the main posts as for listing, because I have to manipulate a lot of categories, juggle a lot of category related code. So I found it simpler to handle listings with the regular post and create this blog using a custom post type. And there is a simple page pricing. It's whatever the client wanted. And now let's check out the join page. So join, my idea of join would be this. I mean, client wanted to go straight to login, but if you don't have an account, this is where you end up, right? And here, after login, we have login and sign up. We have two different redirections. So one I will show you. I mean, sign up I'll cover a little bit later, and now I'll just cover the what happens when you straight log in, right? Let's choose this guy, go in. All right, so this is where you end up when you are coming straight from the join page or go straight to the login. No detouring, right? So in here, this is the main profile page. You get to update your passwords. You hit edit, you change, you hit update, and change that. And if you forget to save, hit cancel, and it tells you, did you save? And it closes up again. This is a small effort to protect from bots and such, right? And here are the auto links. Auto links basically means, this is also the edit button, and you can do cancel, get out. So here, if you make the changes, they actually show up when you go to the actual list insert page. So in here, these are automatically filled in. But we'll come here later. For now, let's get out, and just wanted to show you that the redirection happens once you straight log in or sign up from the sign up page. You end up here, and now I'm going to show you the other route. The list insert page that you saw, that was the real one after logging in, but here we provide a fake one, just so that user know what they're getting into before logging in. This looks exactly like the original list insert page, but in here, let's say if you want to try something here, it's just going to pop up and say join or enter. Any other button like new market would do the same thing, but this will actually let you fill it up. So let's go here and go step by step to see how we're protecting the form, right? What are required, what are not. So here, let's bring in some lorem ipsum text, and also notice that once I paste it in, it only limits itself to 140 characters. I mean, the more I'm typing, but it's not going to take. So it will always be limited to that. And I'm going to go ahead and put in a phone number and an email address. I'm going to copy that to use it for sign up. Website, you can, or you can skip it. This is not really mandatory. So let's say we leave it there and we try again, and it's going to tell you need to have at least one social link, right? So we're going to put in, and let's also add Twitter. And one thing to notice here, that these are totally isolated validation. Like, for example, Facebook will only look for Facebook. For example, if I just simply remove one letter, it's going to tell you, oh, it's not Facebook. So you got to have Facebook there, and Twitter, if you even miss by one, it's going to let you know. So that being said, now let's try to go again, and this time it's going to tell me accept the terms and conditions, and try again. Oh, now it's going to tell you list grande. So if we, as soon as I click OK, so it's going to go up there and show you what grande is. So I'm going to go ahead and choose something here, and choose even a like a secondary one, and even a like, sorry, primo and then segundo, right? Then try again. Oh, it's going to tell you, oh, you missed location. Okay, so we're going to go with California and Los Angeles. All right, so now we have covered pretty much everything. So let's see what happens this time. And also remember, this is a list for non-members. It looks exactly like the real one, but we're not logged in. And as you can see, the template name is also, I have a fake attached to it, so I know this is the, I mean, this is not going to show up in the real application. This is just for this video and for debugging purposes that I did. But look at that template name. So as soon as I hit list, it's going to generate a preview screen, exactly the way it was supposed to happen once we log in, the real one. But only to, once the real one actually comes after inserting the data via Ajax. But this one, it's coming just collecting the data from the form. And if you look at the URL, I'm using the query var and URL params to fill this up. And according to the client, they wanted all the buttons functional, mostly, I mean, these social ones. For example, if you click this, it's going to still go to Twitter, and Facebook will go to Facebook. There you go. I didn't use the right kind of link, so it just errored out, but it actually went to the right place. And all these things, if you look at the bottom, they actually have all the data that we punched in, right? And if you try to do a flagging on this, it's going to stop you and say, use flagging on the active listing, because this list is not inserted yet. This is not an active list yet. Same way, if I try to invite somebody, use invite on active listing. So these are just protected a little bit. And one thing to show you here is that if you make a mistake or something, if you want to add something else, you hit the back button, and it will come back and give you, retain all the data that you put in. So let's make a change here. Let's go to Arizona and Scottsdale instead of California. And in here, let's just add YouTube. Okay, now let's hit accept and go in. And you can see the changes immediately, Arizona Scottsdale, and now we have YouTube added to it. But in this case, if we hit list, now we go to the join page. So this time we're going to fill it out. Now that our sign up form is filled in, now we're ready to hit join. And this time, watch what happens. It will actually sign us up and automatically log us in. And watch this time where it redirects us to. So let's hit join. There you go. Look at that. So this time, instead of going straight to profile, since we had some data that user wanted to put in, we did not want to make them, go through the pain of refilling the whole thing. We retained the data and redirected them to this, insert page, the real insert page, and filled all the data in. So all they have to do now is hit accept and hit list, and list will be inserted, right? Because this is the real one. Also notice that we have a search here. So let's say user want to see something like what's available while he creates the necessary categories, and want to see what's available, how many lists are in each category. So this is the chance to find out what they're up to, how they're going to make their decisions, so on and so forth. And in here also, if the user's chosen category is not available, by the way, these are all, search capable, right? Like let's say looking for something with D, it's gonna give me everything with the D. A, it's gonna give me the A stuff. So this is a drop down with the search capability. And in the future videos, I will show exactly what I did. I used a library called Selectize. It's a pretty complex one, but I'm gonna go step by step through it, how I did it. So what I'm trying to say here is that data could be filled in, but at the same time, in here at any level, like for example, if you want to create a full set, you can always click here and create a full set. If you want to create a new primo, you'll come here and see it will block your first one, but leave the other ones open. And the same way, let's start with this one. And in here, if we go to Secundo, now we have our Grande and Primo blocked, but we can only play with the two. And at the bottom, let's say right now, we will only have Tarzo open. So let's create a Tarzo. We're going to say Tarzo, and we hit make. And our custom set of categories now just showed up. And with this, we're going to move to the locations. I mean, you can always get, just by refreshing the page, you can always go back to the choices and pick it from the drop downs. But for now, if you don't want to change anything, this one stays locked in. And now let's say we are going to Georgia. So let's see what cities are there. Okay, so now here also we are keeping this window open to add another city that might be missing, or that might be missing from the list. So in here we can just go new market, and we're going to create Huntsville, Georgia. Hit make. And now we have our new city and new set of categories all ready to go. And this data was already filled in, so we're not going to mess with that. Hit accept. And remember, at this point, if you hit list, it's going to actually create that list and give us a preview using Ajax. So let's hit list. And we see it's pretty much exactly the same thing, but since it was actually doing the work, inserting the post, now we have a actual list ID up here. And now let's move on to the next step. This time we're giving user to decide, and also remember one thing, that available points are 1,000, right? As soon as the user logs in, we are giving them certain points, let's say 1,000 points, and 1,000 points, as you can see here, list today for 1 point per day. So they can go up to 1,000 days as the length of the active list. So this 1,000 points, they have to choose how long they want their list to stay active. For example, if I just go with the 30 here, and it's going to give me the date, and it's going to calculate. Actually, let's go with 31st, right? So it's going to calculate, 25 cents per day. I'm going to be spend $3.75 for this, and it's going to take, since 15 days, it's going to take 15 points out of my 1,000 points. So the payment points are 1 day 1 point, so 15 points. So now let's go list here. And if we decide now here, if some, at one point you see the your available point is less than your payment points, then it's not gonna give you the list button. It's gonna actually redirect you to the point shop, which you will find in the profile section, which we will show within a few minutes. So now, for now, let's finish this transaction. Hit list. And watch here, it created this, basically list was created at the preview level. And once you set up your days. It takes the points up, see, subtracts the points from 1000. Now you have 985, and your list ID is 1594, and it is now an active list. What it does in the back end is it goes ahead and make a pending list and turns its status to active. So now with this button, you can go back to the create list and start creating something, again, new one, or you can hit my list. And in here, you're going to see all your active lists sitting right here, non-active lists right here, and you get to delist this, which is basically demote this to a non-active list. So let's go and click on it. So let's delist it and see what happens. Well, now it just became a non-active list. So now you're not going to find it in the search anymore. And at this point, you can actually relist, this same list. You can reactivate, or you can just hit delete and get rid of it. Right, all from right here. And this is actually at the profile page that we first came here. This is the profile page. That's how we go to the my listing and check up on our status and manipulate things. And about the profile page, one thing to notice here is that, as you can see, these are already filled in. This is a fresh sign up, right? This guy fresh sign up, and just before this transaction, he had 1000 points available, which every fresh signee will get, right? But one thing to notice here is that this information already got inserted. Just because we came from the fake list page, this list before we logged in, but as we signed up and retained that information and dumped it on the list page, at the same time, we actually filled up this user profile also with this information, like user's phone number, email address, and social links. So anytime from here you do go back, that temporary data is now gone because we already created a list, but this information is still here. That's why we're calling them auto links, because they always get imported from the user's profile. Now here you have an option to go ahead and change things. For example, let's make it a dev and update. And we made the change, right? And then at the same time, if we go back to create a list, and we can see this change has taken place. And now let's go back to the profile page again. And we did not check this guy. Yeah, this window is completely empty because we haven't made any transactions, right? This is the e-commerce shop, and after any transaction here, it does show up in here from the WooCommerce database. Now this is a fresh sign up, so to show you the further details, I'm just gonna go quickly exit out and use one of the known good users that actually has a lot of information available in there. So let's go with this guy again. All right, so he has 769 points available, and he has all this information available. Now, if we go to my orders, here, this is where we see all the transaction details that has been performed by this guy using the WooCommerce store, which is by listing days. So this is a heavily customized WooCommerce store. You can click on them, but they never will go to the single product because that has been blocked out programmatically. And in here, you can see the available listing days. And this is where you can actually come and buy points. And these are the points we are using, as previously shown, to buy new publishing days. Okay, so let's buy a 5-point and a 10-point. Let's view cart. So we see our shopping cart here, and I'm gonna go ahead and double up on this and hit the checkout. And we actually, change the names to buy according to client. I don't know why, but in here now we put in all the users info and see a summary here and hit the buy button, and I have my fake PayPal account here. Let's see if it logs in. Okay, so now let's, from the balance, let's choose the Visa. I may not have enough balance here, so let's pay now. There you go. We're back, and we just bought $5 worth of points. Okay, so this is pretty much how all the external functionalities work, but there's a lot going on in the back end, and it's actually easier to show better from the back end. And this is the WordPress backend. Under the users, let's go find the user that we just added points to. And in here, I'm using ACF, or Advanced Custom Fields, this guy, to add all the additional custom fields like a profile in additional information and the customer points. As you can see, it's 789. So basically, at the back end, as soon as the transaction is done, the WooCommerce hook kicks in and collects the old number and adds the extra new 20 points and updates this into the database. And that way, this one, once we go back, and this reflects as available points, just went up by 20 points. And also, if we go back here, I would like to show that here, the regular posts, I just changed the name. Like even if you like add list, right? So this has been customized. If you try to add list here, nowhere it's gonna say post anymore. Everywhere it's gonna say list, right? So this has been customized at the back end. Also, another feature I added is that normally from the backend, from the admin backend, WordPress doesn't allow a search by ID, only text, right? So I wrote a simple plugin here, admin search by post ID. For example, let's say if he's looking at the flags, and from here, let's pick 287, right? These flags are, another custom post where, users can actually complain about it or report it. So he sees something not okay, so he can go back to the list. And remember this 287, and then he can type up 287, hit enter, and pinpoint the exact same list and delete it, maybe set it to pending status or whatever, do whatever he likes, right? And this is what I was telling you about the custom post type for the blogs, because this is since I am using the primary one for my creating my lists, so this is another custom post type I created for the blogging system. And altogether, these are the plugins are being used. You can see Gravity Forms is there, registration, extension, and Sassy Social Share for the sharing, and WooCommerce membership is the one I'm using to maintain and manage the membership stuff. And most interesting one here is this WP control. This is how I'm actually monitoring the WP Cron system. If you click on here, schedules, you get to see all the stuff that are currently on schedule and cron events. Using code, I'm actually, as soon as the list is activated, I'm using the WP Cron code to schedule them for deactivation. For example, if you look at here, unlist event, this is an event I created, which will be launched within 4 days, 5 hours, and it's going to be automatically monitoring it. And once that day arrives, it's going to go ahead and deactivate it, because that's how much the client paid for, right? So this is how I'm handling the activation and deactivation. And as we know, this cron only works when somebody actually comes in to the website, right? So there might be days nobody comes in, and if that specific day this is supposed to be unlisted, and if nobody comes in, this is not going to work. So what I did, I utilized another external service where I set up that every day, 4 times, a cron task will come in and access this website. So no matter what happens, nobody shows up, that cron access will keep this WP Cron active, right? So this way I will know it always gonna work, and it will deactivate all the listings when necessary. As you can see, all these are currently, one is for 2 weeks, one is 1 week, 6 days. And the most important thing that I took advantage of here is the custom fields, ACF. And this is where all my ACF stuff are. And for currently the chat system, I've used this application called Yobro. As you can see here, if you go to the chat, so this is where you can actually send messages to people. Go to new and then pick up somebody from here, send a message. And I mean, this is the one we're currently using, but I've already worked on, in my development environment, I already worked on replacing this because the client did not like it. So with a React application, and in the back end I used chat engine service, and you can find out all about it if you go to my channel and just look for React plugin, and the top one will be that. The WordPress plugin div, we build and deploy a React.js chat application on WordPress template via a shortcode plugin, and this is what it looks like. So this is where you're going to find out how I replaced this guy right here. So that pretty much concludes the walkthrough of this application called Self-List, which is based on WordPress and written with 80% JavaScript, 20% PHP. And from the next video, I'm going to go ahead and start hitting on pretty much page by page and have a code review and code walkthrough in this series. So stay tuned. Thanks for watching. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, please smash the like button and the subscribe button. This will help me bring more free contents like this to you every week. Thanks again.